Well, the breaking news, of course, this hour, South Carolina claiming its second victim of the race, and the voting hasn't even started. Rick Perry is going to be getting out at 11 o'clock and likely giving his support to Newt Gingrich. Now, Mitt Romney's opponents have 2 more days to make him, quote, unacceptable to South Carolina voters. So, can they do it? Let's bring in our political panel. Robert Trainum is the Washington bureau chief for the Comcast Network. Shira Toeplitz covers politics for Roll Call, and James Bennett is editor of The Atlantic. So, gang, when we started the morning, I don't think I planned on talking about Rick Perry because his relevance in the race was decreasing by the hour, if not the day. But essentially, James Bennett, John Huntsman gave Romney a day to look like the candidate of inevitability by dropping out and endorsing somebody he wasn't too friendly with. And now Rick Perry is going to give a moment to Newt Gingrich in about an hour here, which has to be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get the same perception of the field consolidating around a clear choice. Obviously, Rick Perry doesn't have a huge amount of support in South Carolina, or it seems right now anywhere else except possibly Texas. I think he's within the margin of error for any support at all in your poll this morning. He's at about 4%. But perception matters hugely right now, and the fact that, as you say, it looks like he's going to break to Gingrich gives the speaker a shot in the arm.
And Robert, you know, we've heard over the last 2 days Newt Gingrich trying to almost drive Santorum and Perry out of the race by saying any vote for those two is a vote for Mitt Romney. You're Rick Santorum this morning, and you found out you, in your mind, won Iowa. You know, the Iowa Republican Party is not going to declare a victor here because of those unknown precincts. But essentially now the certified vote total has you ahead and winning Iowa, and yet it doesn't seem he's going to get anything out of this.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, from a tactical standpoint, you know, Senator Santorum is already saying that he won already. You know, he said that a week and a half ago. So in terms of him getting anything out of this, I'm not sure where he goes, except he could probably make the argument that, A, look, I had the momentum on my side from a financial standpoint, from a fundraising standpoint. Not only did I raise $3 million over the last 2.5 weeks, but give me even more money, social conservatives, so that I can really be the conservative alternative here, especially in South Carolina, but especially even more importantly in Florida. So the real question is whether or not Senator Santorum would use this, to my point, is to use this from a fundraising standpoint to keep him alive, if you will, going into Florida.
And Shira, I mean, if you're Santorum, the Perry news, particularly if he does indeed make a full-throated endorsement of Newt, suddenly trumps this Iowa news, but collectively none of it is good news for Mitt Romney.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way, if we weren't already viewing this race as Mitt Romney versus the world, this is the way we need to view this race from now on in. And absolutely, definitely a bad day for Rick Santorum. Totally rained on his parade. I mean, this should have been the day where he held up that Des Moines Register paper that said Romney won. And look, no, Rick Santorum probably maybe actually won, or it's a tie. Anyway, definitely a bad day for Rick Santorum.
So it's a Dewey defeats Truman now. I think a lot of people wish they had that collector's item of Romney. Hey, James Bennett, you've a lot of experience covering covering sort of the scandals of the 90s. And now we're going to feel like we're going to get a flashback tonight with a Marianne Gingrich interview. In the grand scheme of things, the impact of this, of a television interview versus what we already knew she thought of Newt in her various print interviews, sort of give some perspective on that.
Well, it's going to be a very tough day for the speaker. He's got to go into the debate tonight knowing that this interview with his ex-wife is going to air directly after it. And it plays very much into the storyline that the Romney campaign is trying to put out about Newt. They put out surrogates yesterday, they're doing it again today, to basically say, with Newt, it's always all about Newt. He brings a tremendous amount of drama with him, distracting personal drama. And there's a very specific problem that the polling has consistently shown that Newt Gingrich has, which is with evangelical women. He's doing much better in your poll with evangelicals generally, but evangelical women remain a big soft spot for him, and this is not going to help him with that crowd.
Boy, it's an excellent point. The gender gap, yeah, has been a big thing throughout these early tests.
particularly for Gingrich. And, you know, his wife, Callista, is always at his side when he does public events. She's always there with him. He's made a point of sort of frankly acknowledging that he has this baggage, but that he's tried to tell a story of redemption and growth about himself, that he's a more serious person and so forth. It's just a question of whether that message is going to get heard.
You know, Chuck, James brings up a really good point. I mean, the real question is after Marianne Gingrich gives her interview tonight, how well Gingrich does in the polls, you know, tomorrow or Saturday leading in to the Tuesday primary. You know, if I'm the Romney campaign, you know, Marianne Gingrich is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, 2 hours in front of the camera talking about, you know, Newt Gingrich for 18 years of marriage. My understanding is that she's very, very bitter, and my understanding is that she knows where the skeletons are buried, and my understanding is that she knows exactly why Newt Gingrich left his first wife for Marianne Gingrich back in the mid-1980s. So this would be a very interesting interview tonight.
And it could get sympathy for Newt Gingrich as well. True. There could be some backlash here because, as you said, Chuck,
I was just going to say the media. That's right.
Before.
It depends what she says.
There's always
it could
this
have an
distrust
adverse
of the media. Right. All right, Shira, James, Robert, stick around. I got to do trivia. I got to come back after the break.